Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny. Today I need to develop this here the cart management API I need to develop for user sides. I need to start here. First of all, need to making here the cart to ads, then after the update quantity, and then after need to create here the delete API, and last ones need to create here the cart list API need to develop here. But cart list need to develop here the tomorrow because this is the big API. That's why I need to today not covers. Need to today only cover this here the add to carts, update quantity, and delete carts items need to API need to developing here. Let's start how to write down inside the Node.js for this app back API. Need to write down here. First of all, need to create here the app.post and we need to write down here the slash API slash not admins need to use this here the app because need to app user app inside use this API. That's why I need to give this here the app and need to give this here card to add API and to give this here the request and response like needs to create here callback functions. Now we need to print this here the request body. Need to write down here the helper dlog. So need to print here. Need to write down here the request dot body. Then after need to write down here the where request object inside save this here this data request body. Need to save here. Then after so need to check here the access tokens. Now need to pass this here the request dot headers. Then after the response objects, if here the not authorized Azure, then to directly return this here admin response and to terminate this calls. And after if here the valids, then to get this here the user objects, this callback events need to get here. And we need to check here always this access this API only app site. That's why I need to pass this here the ones need to set here because need to only this access the users. That's why I need to setting here the one like we need to set here and now we need to check here the required parameters. So need to pass here the call this here the helper dot check parameters valids methods we need to calls. First ones need to give this here the request, then after need to give this here the request objects, and now need this here the card ID and need to another parameters quantity need to also need here. Then afterwards now these parameters, two parameters are the required need to for this API. Need to if here the values then to blank callbacks. Inside we need to write down here. First of all, need to verify this here the item ID is exist inside our database. If not, then to directly terminate this API calls. Need to check here first of all db.query and we need to call this here the database inside. Now we need to open this here the database root markets apps and select this here the default structures. We need to select this here the item details. We need to go here and we need to check this here the status is active. We need to check here this most importance of this parts. Now need to go SQL query. Need to select here and to get this here the cart ID like here, and we need to remove this here these all things. And here this app inside the not manage here the stock management. That's why we need to direct only need to put this here assume as a average items need to available in stores like this. We need to assume if you not and to shopkeepers need to buy from orange this others and to sending like this need to like this here. And futures we need to develop this here the stock management, but now we need to know any requirements. That's why I need to not creating here the stock managements. Now you need to directly check this here the item active or inactive. If here the user inside shop inside not, then to shop managers we need to inactive these items. That's why not showing this here the app sets like this. We need to setting for this current app. And now like this check here so need to set here this query. Need to put here and we need to give this here the item ID. Need to check here item underscore ID and like this question mark and conditions like set here. And we need to give this here the request dot objects. Need to pass this here the items underscore ID, and then after need to set here the status. Always need to active status this one to pass this here the one like we need to pass here. If here the valids, then to get this here the errors and results need to get for this query here. And now we need to check here if errors means we need to find out here the helper dot throw HTML errors. Now need to write down here the errors and response and to return these functions and terminate this calls. If We need to check here's results. Inside we need to get this here the length more than zero means here the successfully we need to getting these items. That's why we need to next procedures we need to call inside here the entry of the cards. We need to add these items. We need to like these conditions we need to applying here for these items. Like we need to set here's and we need to creating like here's and allow. Now need to set here else parts and to give this here the return response dot JSONs and to fail response we need to return here status and we need to set here the zero and we need to give this here the message invalid items invalid items like here for the fail response. Now here most importance we need to add here the cards inside this quantity. We need to manage this here. We need to check here first these items are already added inside the cards, then to plus this here the quantity. Like this logics we need to internal codings we need to set here. First of all we need to identify here the query inside. We need to one more query we need to write down here and to find out here the existing cards we need to get here like here we need to check here need to go inside here the MySQL database. Now need to select here the database. Need to select here the cards and to select query. Now need to select here like this data need to needs here. We need to need this here the cart ID needs here item ID also needs user ID. Here's no needs not matters here. So now we need to copy this to value and to paste this here and also need to need this here the status here like this. Need to create it and modify dates no needs here like this. We need to select here the quantity also need to need this here and no needs here the user ID need to clean like here and we need to pass this here the value question mark and also need to pass here equal to question mark and set equal to like we need to cut here and we need to set here the this second query like this and now we need to pass this here the item ID again and this user ID for this current user. So need to check here user object dot user underscore ID and we need to pass here the status always need to need this here the actives means here the one like we need to set here the query and need to check here the length of zero then need to exist here. So now need to check here the another query db and we need to find out here the results and to check here the ones and check here the length more than zero means already exist these items like these conditions need to put here. If here the not exist then to create here the insert query and if here the exist and to update this here the quantity you need to plus here for these items like for the ads need to query we need to call this here for these events. Now we need to write down here the insert query like here's calls we need to remove this here the cart id and need to also remove here the status already into once and need to remove this here need to give this here the three value need to put sears need to give this here the question one question two and question three mark need to put sears and to insert we need to write down sears like then after need to pass this here the one by one value need to give this here the request object dot item underscore id then after request object dots need to give this here the qty and before need to qty to add this here the user id here forget so need to get give this here user underscore id. Now this is the insert query are the done here and we need to set here the errors and results get here like here. Now we need to check again here the gets any errors to paste this here for this data. Now need to check here set here the results and if here the counts means here the successfully adds inside this card data need to get here like we need to set here and to now temporary we need to set this here the success message and tomorrow we need to change this here the give this here the current card list again, so need to send. That's why now need to only temporary set this here this response. Yesterday we need to change this response. We need to set here the status, set here one, and we need to give this here the message like here's, and to set message as a cart to added successfully. Like this message we need to set here for this message, and if here the not to set here the fail message, need to write down here the fail msg fail, not success, need to forget here fail. And to save this years for this year the not found any records inside the cards for these items. That's why I need to insert this new records. Like this need to condition this here the set here's for this applying here. And now we need to update query, need to write down here. First of all need to write down here the new quantity, you need to find out here where new qty like here's is equal to, need to set this here the parts int, and to write down here the request object dot qty, need to give this here, set here qty quantity like this, and we need to set here plus, need to write down here the result, set here 0 not 0 1, and we need to give this here the 0 objects. We need to pass this here for this data, need this here the qty, need to columns, we need to set here the qty and set this data here. Now need to one, make sure so need to set here the qty inside the integers, need to set here the integer types here the not matters here the things. Now need to write down here the update query like here update, and we need to set here the update. Now we need to write down here go SQLs and to select here the updates, and we need to remove this here the cart ID. Also item ID no needs, user ID no needs, need to only update this here the quantity. Need to same query use this here the inside the updates, and status here the not needs here, so need to clean here, also need to clean here, and to modify inside set this here the new like set here. Then after so need to write down here the cart ID and set this here for this data. Now need to cut here for this data, and we need to paste this query here. Now we need to pass this here the value, request object dots, need to pass this here the new, maybe you need to new quantity for this errors, and now need to give this here the result, and cart id you need to find out here, give this here the cart underscore id, and we need to get here errors result like this here. Now need to check here the errors first of all like here's, and we need to check here the result affected row more than 0, and to write down here the else parts, need to write down here the else message like here's, and we need to success, then to like this message need to add card successfully, and update qty successfully. So this just like this message need to change here for our internal. If you change this message not matters here, if you put this same message not any problems. Now this is the add to cards API need to done. Same as now need to create here the update cards API. Need to write down here first of all need to copy this API and to paste this here, and we need to set this here the card qty update like here's. We need to set here now need to give this here the cart underscore id, and need to another item id also need to needs here item underscore id. I need to set here. Now need to call this here the directly it is update query. No needs other query because maybe Need to check here one more thing. So need to set like this data and need to paste this here. Now need to give this here the new quantity. Need to give this here the request object dots. Need to give this here the QTY. Set like this here, and we need to give this here the request object dot cart ID, and also need to set here the end conditions like here. Need to set here the item ID question mark and status is equal to need to set here for the status. Same as now need to pass here the item underscore ID and status is equal to 1, not equal to 2 means not deleted like the status. Need to manage this here. Now need to save here. If here the affected row more than 0 means here the successfully update this here the quantity update cart update qty successfully. We need to like this message. We need to calling here and we need to set this here. Maybe remove here one brackets. Need to check here errors conditions maybe needs like this. And also need to check parameters and to fix this here the bracket issue need to set here. Then after need to another API need to develop this here the delete card items. Need to call here for this API. Now need to write down here the cart item delete like this set here. Now need to set here the cart ID and to pass this here the and to set this here the status. I need to set here modify dates and need to no need here the status verify. Clean here, remove this here the quantity to need to set here the two and also need to remove these conditions. Affected row and card item deleted successfully like this message. We need to pass here and items cart item delete API need to done here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.